Good morning, Scott Sambucci here. We have officially hit the top of the hour, and I see that we've got a bunch of people logging in still. So while you're getting logged in, I'll do the quick introduction, kind of set the ground rules for what we're going to be covering today, as well as what I need from you. So here we go. Two very, very simple rules. So if you're listening now, I really appreciate these two very important rules that I have found help me help you get the most out of the time that you're going to be investing today. So rule number one is really simple. So right now, this very second, I know that probably at least one or two of you have some other application running in the background. You might be checking email, you might be looking in your CRM, you might be on the web looking at something. The first rule that I always have for people, whether it's students in a class or clients that I'm working with or people on a webinar, is like, look, if you're here, let's be here. So focus on now, and let's worry about later. So close your email, close your CRM. I promise you there are no breakthroughs in the next email that you type, okay? Second rule is that, as you probably noticed from the first rule, I am very, very direct. And sometimes people tell me I'm actually a little bit too blunt. So the thing is, I give my 100% best to be very honest, very transparent, and I really can't do things any other way. So throughout the course of the webinar today, I definitely want you to interact. I want you to ask questions. And sometimes when you ask questions, you might not get the answer you want to hear. I promise it's the answer that I think is the right one. I'm not always right about everything. If you ask me a question, I'm going to shoot you straight. If you ask for something, I'm going to do my very best to get it to you. So we've got a ton of content to get through in a very, very short time. I'm going to move really fast. And in a few spots, I'm going to need you to answer some questions just to get involved. This is my way. If we can't be in the same room, if I can't look you in the eye, you can't look me in the eye. This is my way of making sure that everybody is checking in with me. So real quick, as you're logging in, as we dial in and get prepared for liftoff here, if you can hear my voice, I would love it if you can just real quick go into the question box, go in the question pane and say, hey, I can hear you loud and clear. Everything's good. And secondly, I'd love to hear that you're good with the two rules. So rule number one, like we said, is, hey, let's make sure we're focusing on now and worry about later. And then rule number two is you're good with asking questions and you're good with me giving my very best to be honest and transparent. So cool. Oh, wow. Awesome. You guys are banging away. This is great. I love it. Tunnel vision engaged. I love it, Nick. That's awesome. Good stuff. Okay. So let's dive in here. So as you know, hopefully you know, my name is Scott Sambucci. That's a pretty recent picture of me. I'm the CEO of Sales Qualia, and I've created the Startup Selling Coaching Program. What we're going to cover today is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart and near and dear to a lot of the people that I work with, and that is how to run your product demos without looking like a startup. And so the three areas that we're going to cover today are how to tailor what you teach in your presentation, how to go from dancing in the room to dominating the room, and how we're going to go from, looks interesting, let's circle up and get back to you, to, hey, this looks awesome, what do you need from us? So by the time you leave here in the next hour, you will have three specific strategies that you can adopt right now and put to work in your business. Whether you're a salesperson, marketing director, product manager, or startup CEO, this stuff works. I promise you. So now as we get started, know that I'm going to give you everything that I've got in the time that we have. We've got till the top of the next hour. And in the end, I'm going to show you how to get more help if you want it. Would that be okay? Everybody good with that? Awesome. Good. Okay. So I want to also start with a quick question for you guys. The first question, there's actually three quick questions. So the first one is, what did you have for breakfast this morning? What did you have for breakfast this morning? So for me, as you're typing your questions into this box, my breakfast included an avocado, 2 bananas, a can of sardines, some carrots, and an apple. So that was my breakfast this morning. What was yours? Omelet, fruit and coffee, says Mark Deese. A healthy man. That's good. Anybody else? What did you have for breakfast today? Smoothie and adult fish oil gummies. That's solid, man. Dan had coffee but no sardines, eggs and hot chocolate, homemade egg McMuffin. Ooh, that sounds good, Donna. I like that. Josh Walker says, not quite that healthy, a bagel. Well, there's a lot worse things than a bagel. Cool, great. So second Second question I want to ask you is, if there is one emotion or one outcome for today that best describes what you want to get out of our time together, what would that be? What is one emotion or one outcome for today that best describes what you want to get out of your time? And what would that be? Satisfaction, Sammy. Nice one. Actionable energy. I think I could do that for you, Donna. Great. Clarity. Oh, we're definitely going to hit on clarity, Josh. Nice. Awesome. Some other good ones in here too. How to make my startup demos look like a solid product. Yes, we could definitely do that. And great. So the third question that I have for you is, where do you and your teams get most frustrated with your product demos? What about product demos for you is, maybe it's whatever's prompting you to hop on this webinar and try to learn something new? Or is there one part of the product demo, the big meeting, the big demo, that you just, this thing is just like, it feels like the monster in the room, the elephant in the room that you can't quite crack? Closing sales, clients being amazed by the product, feature dump. Yeah, man, feature dump is tough. Qualification and preparation. Good, Mark. Quality. People still want to test rather than buy. Lack of design. Qualifying. Yeah, so some really good answers in here, and I really love the ones related to qualification and preparation. And getting people ready for that demo is even more important a lot of times than the demo itself. So that's great. Good job. So one of the things I wanted to do real quick before we jump in is that I've got a ton of slides, and as you can probably tell, I go really fast. And I'm also probably going to mention a couple of templates, emails that I've used, PowerPoint slides, worksheets, whatever that is. So two things. One, take a lot of notes, write really fast if you can. Two, remind me at the end of this webinar, and I will show you how to get a copy of the slide deck and where to check out the recording of this webinar that I'm going to post in a super secret location online. Okay, so definitely you want to stick around just to make sure that if you want to share some of this with people on your team that weren't able to join, or you want to tell your friends about it, I'm going to help you find where I'm going to be posting this online in that super secret location. So great. So I've already asked that question. What's the hardest part of product demos for you? And so what I like to do is kind of set the stage and say, well, why this topic in particular? Why are we talking about product demos? And, some of you might know I've worked with 3 different startups. And the first startup that I worked with, the second startup I worked with in Silicon Valley is called Altos Research. And the cool thing about Altos Research is that we sold housing data into the financial market. And when I was there, it was around between 2007 into about 2011, 2012, right? A really, really interesting time to be selling housing data into the housing market. That was the cool part. Super dynamic time in that industry. The hard part about selling data is, how do you demo? How do you demo data? You just do you give somebody a spreadsheet? Do you ship over a CSV file? Do you hook up your APIs and say, go check it out? It's actually really hard to demo data. And so I was encountering this account that I was working. Some of you might be familiar with. It's called TCW, or Trust Company of the West. And the trading desk at this company was focused on trading what's called residential mortgage-backed securities, RMBS. These are some of the securities that got a lot of the housing market into trouble way back in the crash. And so it occurred to me that, okay, basically these guys are trading using spreadsheets, and my job was to show how my data was going to augment their models. It was going to give them a better price. And as I was talking through the sales process, and I remember talking with this guy, Jonathan, over there, who was the head of analytics, it dawned on me that we had gotten really, really far in the sales process without me really showing the product. And when I broke it down, there was these 4 levels of build that got us from the first initial conversation to the point where they were ready to engage in a serious conversation. So first, obviously, is trust. And I know if you're in sales, you're in marketing, you're doing product development, you're contacting customers, obviously you first and foremost need to build trust. Secondly, then it's about building confidence. And confidence in that what you're sharing with people identifies with their problem, that they know that you understand what it's like for them to sit in that seat that they're in. And then third, it's about capability. So as you start talking about how you approach the problem that you're solving, how you have approached the product that you've built, now you're getting people to say, okay, I trust this person. I'm confident that they can solve this problem. I'm confident in the team that they've adopted. And I believe that based on what they're telling me, there's capability. So doing those three things first, then getting to the actual product was even more important to me and to getting the sale done than the product demo itself. And so when I look back at that sales transaction, we had about 5 or 6 meetings before I got into any kind of heavy product demo. And this goes back to one of the questions I'd asked people earlier about what was hardest about your product demos. And a few of you said, hey, it's preparation, it's qualifying, it's getting the right, information before you even get to that product demo. And so what I realized is that product demos are something that we've built up as salespeople to be this big, huge, gigantic step in the sales process, when in fact it could just be a single step along the way. And we're just using the demo as an excuse, as a reason to go from early stage opportunity to a later stage opportunity. I had a similar experience, just to help you understand more about the origin story of like why I wanted to do this particular webinar. So in spring of 2015, so roughly a little more than a year ago, and I was in my second year working with Blend. And Blend, we sold the company still sells enterprise software to banks and mortgage lenders. And so the problem that we had is that we were selling this origination software, but it didn't actually exist. So all we had to go with was a 2-minute video that we put together. We kind of hacked it together, put it up on Vimeo, and that was often our entry point to doing a product demo. Occasionally, we would put together in hard code a product demo for people, but it took a lot of work, and we couldn't afford that engineering time to do a hacked, together spit and bubblegum version of the platform each and every time we were doing a product demo. And so it brought me back to those same 4 steps where I realized that as I was talking with people in the mortgage market, first it was about, yes, building trust. Then it was about building confidence that I understood their problem, that they had confidence in the capabilities of the team that we had built. And then finally, only after that, did it really matter what the product did. And so what I want to do is kind of show you how we can take those same techniques that I've adopted in different places and apply it to your product. And so I want to ask you, I want to tell you that's why I'm sharing the story, is that everything that I do and everything that I teach comes from personal experience and information that I've learned from other people. Does that make sense? Is that cool? Everybody on board with that so far? Cool, great. Yes, says Josh, awesome. Okay, cool. So let me ask you a quick question as we dive into the content here in just a second. We're first going to be looking at how to tailor to teach. Let me ask you a question. In your question box there, or in your chat box, tell me what's been most useful so far? What's been most useful so far in our short conversation? Kind of setting the stage, helping you understand what these 3 topics that we're going to cover within product demos: tailoring to teach, dominating instead of dancing, and how to get your customers to say, hey, what do you need from me? What's been most useful so far? Cool. Mark says asking us questions, keeping us engaged. Cool. Kenny, good to see you. Yep. That the product demo isn't the end goal. Yes, it's just another step in the process. I love that, Nick. Yes. The order of the topics in a presentation is trust. And Henry, it's not even, it's yes, the order of the presentation is trust. It's the order of the whole sales process is trust. I mean, that's why a lot of us are doing content marketing. We're trying to show that we've got some authority, we've got some expertise. That's what helps people believe that they can trust us, at least give us those first 15 minutes so that we can inspire confidence, then prove our capability. And after that, it comes the product demo. So awesome. Great. All right. Emphasis on preparation. Yes, Kiro. I hope I'm saying that right, Kiro. Emphasis on preparation. Explanation of build confidence, share more. So Sammy, we'll come back to that, build confidence. Remind me at the end, and I promise you we'll get back to that. Great. So here we go. Number 1, the first thing that I really want to focus on here, this idea, theme number 1, if you will, is tailor to teach. And like a lot of my stories, sometimes they're good, happy endings. Sometimes they're not so good, happy endings. And so I kind of want to set the stage for theme number 1 here, tailor to teach, when we're talking about product demos. So While I was selling that data product that I was telling you about at Altos Research, one of the other leads or one of the other prospects we had in our pipeline was a company that you probably heard of. And it's there on your screen. Really, really huge investment house. They do all kinds of stuff all across the financial market, everything from investment banking to bonds to stocks to obviously mortgage securities at the time that I was selling data products. And one of the things that was going really well in early stage, at least I thought was going really well early stage in the sales process, is that it was an inbound lead and it was a result of some content marketing. So I was like, okay, cool. These people are reading what I was sending out. I was able to track the open rates on these housing reports we'd send out every month. And finally, they got in touch. They responded back to some emails. They said, yeah, we've heard a little bit about the data. We know of other people that have used it, and we'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're doing. I'm like, okay, this is great. So I had a couple of early conversations, understanding more about what kind of loans they were trading, what kind of mortgage securities they were trading, kind of doing all the background research and sort of needs analysis that you would do. And we got to this point of this big demo. We're like, okay, cool. We're going to get everybody on this webinar, and we're going to show them how our data works and how our model, we have this forward valuation model that we built. We're going to show them how this forward valuation model works. And so what I thought was going to be a 3 or 4 person conversation over GoToMeeting, I get logged in. It's 2-3 minutes before we're about to start. And all of a sudden I see person number 5, person number 6, person number 7, person number 8. All of a sudden, all these other people start logging in from PIMCO. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Turns out they had 12 different people logging in for this product demo, and I had no idea who they were. So I'm pinging the main point of contact. I'm like, hey, real quick, help me understand before we get started, who are these other people? I'm sorry, I didn't realize they were going to have all these other people. He said, oh yeah, I just invited whoever else wanted to come here on the trading desk because I thought they'd want to take your product for a spin, see how it works. I was like, oh man, on the one hand, I really appreciate that. On the other hand, I have no idea what these people care about. What am I supposed to show them? And I mean, this is PIMCO. So they're getting demos probably every week. They're seeing data products, they're looking at analytics products. I mean, that's their job, is to figure out how can they get the best price on their trade. And so what I thought was going to be this nice, easy, contained product demo for the 3 or 4 people I talked to turned out to be this explosion of people. And the worst part about it is that after the product demo, and I did the follow-up call, and we started talking about next steps, the response I got was, yeah, I talked to everybody in the team, and they liked what they saw, but just not for us. So thanks anyway. I really appreciate your time. It's like, it just blew it, right? And the reason I blew it, and this brings us to our first topic here of tailoring to teach in the demo. So it's really frustrating when you get these random people that just show up in your product demo. You're like, who are these people? Or you get this from the person who helped you set up the meeting. Oh, by the way, our CTO, he might stop by. I mentioned to him that we were doing this product demo, and we might want to have him join. And then when you kick off the demo, you get 3 minutes into the demo, and you're getting all these questions from all the people that you didn't even know who they were in the first place. And you feel like you're on the defensive right away, even though this is supposed to be what you thought was going to be this really wonderful opportunity to show your product and how it's going to solve the problem. The moment that you turn on the projector, you find out that, man, now I'm on the defense. And just getting the people in the room was hard enough, and you know that you're only going to get one chance of doing this demo the right way. So in my case with PIMCO, I had one chance, and it wasn't even that I did a poor job demoing, it's that I didn't know it was going to be there, and I didn't know how to tailor the product demo in a way to teach it to other people. So I blew that chance. And so what we really want are people that show up with their open eyes, open ears, right? They're ready to learn from us. They're ready to learn about our product. More importantly, they're ready to learn how we're going to help them solve our problem. And ultimately, we want them to have clarity. We want them to have clarity about how we're approaching the problem and how our solution solves that problem, so that product demo is really just a launch pad that gets us from, it's a catalyst that gets us from somebody who's like, okay, it sounds pretty interesting. I've got some confidence. I think your capabilities might be there. Let's see it. And that demo, if it's done right, can launch us into a really serious sales conversation. with our customers. So tailoring and tailoring to teach. So I'm going to give you a couple key principles on how you can tailor to teach in your product demos. Would that be okay? Everybody, give me a quick thumbs up if you're still with me. Is this good so far? Getting lots of exclamation points. Josh says yes. Cool. Thumbs up. +1. Kenny, I love your +1s, man. Thank you. Good to see you here. So, all right, number one thing to do with your product demos that allow you to tailor so that you can teach is engage with your prospects before the demo. Engage with your prospects before the demo. And so what do I mean by that specifically? So as soon as you find out that you've got this product demo set up, whether it's in person, you're going to go onto that site, you're going to be in a conference room with 3 or 4 or 6 other people, or it's going to be a web meeting, something like this, something like I had with PIMCO. One of the things that I failed to do was find out exactly who was going to be in that room or who might have even been in that room. I was so happy that my point of contact was setting up this demo for me that I failed to do the preparation ahead of time. I failed to engage with the people that were going to be in that room to understand exactly what they cared most about, right? So by engaging with people before the meeting, specifically, what I'm talking about is treating every attendee like you would a new lead. And so finding out exactly who's going to be there, then treating that person as if they know nothing about your product, or at least treating them from the standpoint of, this person might be involved with the decision. What's their perspective on this problem? So instead of just blindly trusting our point of contact to get the right people in the room, let's take that action step and go and personally contact, which is the third principle. Do your research around the people that are going to be in that room. And then fourthly, set up a 15-minute conversation with each of those people. And here's specifically how Joe says, sorry about PIMCO. Here's specifically how I approach people for that 15-minute call, right? So let's just imagine today is, well, we don't have to imagine, today is Thursday. And let's say we get the breakthrough that we want. Our point of contact, our product champion says, hey, Scott, good news. Definitely want to see your product. In fact, if we can do it next Wednesday and you can swing by the office, I can rally a few of the troops here. We'll put everybody in a conference room and then you can show us what you got. I'm like, great, that's awesome. So this is my opportunity to take control and where I can start tailoring to teach people. Let's say my product champion guy is John. John, thank you so much for setting up this meeting. I really appreciate it. So one of the things that I found to be most important in doing our product demos is finding out from each person individually, and this is my 5th principle here, what I call a 3+1. Name it. And I'm like, I literally want you to name it. You can even use this if you want to. Call it the 3+1. And John's going to say, 3+1? What's the 3+1? I say, well, John, so here's the thing. What I found in teaching people and showing people how our product works is that typically most people will go into a product demo and they always have 2 or 3 questions in their mind. And those questions could be specifically about our capabilities. They might be specifically about the product. They might be just more generally about how we approach technology. They might have questions about our company and our background. Everybody's 2 or 3 questions are a little bit different. I just know from experience, everybody's got 3 questions. So I want to know ahead of time, I want to get in touch with and spend 15 minutes with the other 4 people that are going to be in this product demo and I just understand from them what are the 3 questions that they have about me, about the product, about the company, our approach, our technology, whatever that is. So that's the 3, John. The +1 is everybody you're getting in this room is really important and they're really busy. If we just look at it from a man-hour standpoint, we're going to have a 1-hour meeting. You're going to have 5 people in the room. That's half a day of people's time. You've got VPs, senior vice presidents, directors. All these people are really, really busy. And it probably takes a lot of work for you to juggle the schedules and get everybody in the room. So the one that I want to get, John, is the one outcome, the one learning. What is the one thing that person wants to get from this meeting so that they felt like their time was well spent? So John, that's my 3+1. I just want to understand everybody's 3 questions and what is the one outcome so that when we do get everybody in the room next week, I'm going to be prepared to answer those questions and I can make sure to tailor and drive forward the agenda so that each person in that room gets the one outcome that they want. Does that make sense? Now, what I'm doing here is taking control of the situation. I'm showing my point of contact that I know the best way to run these meetings, and I'm not just leaving things to chance. And so even if I can't get 15 minutes with all 4 people, maybe between now and Tuesday, a couple people are traveling, or one person doesn't get back to me, or even if I'm working through the administrative assistant, that person can't help me schedule 15 minutes. At least I've set the stage with John. And even if I get 1 out of 4 people to get back to me, now I'm able to start crafting my demo sequence in a way that specifically tailors to those questions and to that one outcome, the 3+1. And it gives me the opportunity to teach people the things that they need to know about my product, right? So that's the 3+1. Does that make sense? I'd love to hear if that makes sense for you. Let me hear from you. Does that make sense? Awesome strategy, the 3+1. Yep. So Santiago. I've seen $ from Sammy. Great concept, says Charlie. Yeah. So what's interesting, and while I was telling the story about PIMCO from my days at Altos Research, I mean, if I go back 15 years, almost 20 years now in my sales career, I was actually doing this and without even knowing it. So a long time ago, I worked at Pearson Education. So some of you may have probably bought textbooks or learning materials from Pearson, and I was a textbook salesperson. And one of my biggest accounts, I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. One of my biggest accounts was UNC Charlotte, University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And specifically in the chemistry department, they had this huge decision around what chemistry book to use for the Principles of Chemistry course. Now, this is like a 700-800 person class. They have a couple big auditoriums. They have a couple hundred students per section. They pile them in. They teach them, principles of chemistry because they've got all these pre-med majors that are hoping and aspiring to go to medical school. It's a big sale. I mean, you know how expensive textbooks are at $100 a pop. That's a pretty nice deal, right? And so one of the things I was doing without even knowing this was that we called it working the committee. Working the committee. So in textbook sales, with these big purchases, every department has what's called a textbook committee. And those are usually anywhere from 3 to 10 professors that are responsible ultimately for choosing the textbook for these big courses. And so I was trained to go through and pre-sell to each individual person of the committee. And the goal of pre-selling wasn't necessarily to sell the product to get people to say yes. The idea of pre-selling was to identify each committee member's hot buttons. Like, hey, what is the most difficult topic within Principle of Chemistry for you to teach? Or, hey, how do you use technology in the classroom? Or what are the 3 most important attributes that you want in a textbook solution going forward over the next 3 years, over the next 6 years? So my job was to accumulate this information and compile it. And then what I would do is call what we had a subject matter expert. Her name was Marty. And we had the textbook editor, John. My job was to get the people in the room and then give all this information to Marty and John, who would then tailor the presentation around all the work that I had done pre-selling. That pre-selling work took weeks and months, even to get us into that meeting. So that's something I had to do in a very manual process, but I had a lot of time. I could go on campus, sit with a professor for an hour, ask them all these questions. You can take the same exact concept and apply it to your software business or apply it to your services business. Say, hey, I've got this meeting in a week. How can I get the 3+1 strategy knocked out so that I know what those 3 questions are? I know what that one outcome is that my customer wants to get, my potential customer wants to get from our time together. And so now that we've kind of talked about the importance of tailoring and teaching and prepping for your demos, this definitely reduces your risk walking into the room, right? It allows you to set the agenda for the meeting. And I showed you how it worked for me at how I learned from my experience at Altos Research, how I was able to use it effectively way back 15 years ago. And what I want to do now is actually talk about you for a second, okay? So I want you to think for yourself, like, hey, if I had a really clear pre-meeting plan that allowed me to tailor and then teach in my product demos, what kind of impact would that have for you? If you had a clear pre-meeting plan and action plan for yourself to tailor and teach, what kind of impact do you think that would have for you? If you think about all the times that you walked into a demo and didn't even know the people sitting in the room, like my situation that I talked about with PIMCO, and you're logging onto your web meeting, like, what do you think that's probably cost you so far? Yeah, Nick says it makes you look more professional, not like a scrappy startup team. Boom. Nick, you can leave the webinar now. No, don't leave the webinar now. We still got 2 more ideas to go. But yeah, that's exactly it, right? Imagine if you were a very mature professional consultant, and somebody said to you like, "Hey, I need you to come in here and teach me about your product." You would want to do a bunch of research first. You would want to learn everything about what questions people have, what outcomes they need, right? So this is all about customer discovery. We haven't even talked about actually showing the product. This is all the work that if you do this work right, then the demo is super easy, because then you're just tailoring it to hit those hot buttons, to answer those questions, to achieve that one outcome. And then, as we'll see in a minute, we can just slide right into the next stage of the sales opportunity. So great. So I've got a question for you. Another question for you. We kind of hit a fork in the road here, right? We're talking about how to do the big demo, and how it should be a catalyst from early stage to a let's get serious stage, right? And now that you know you can keep trying to sell the old way, you can let your customers show up to demos with their mobile phones and box of popcorn, right? Pretending to think that this is an important meeting. Or you can decide to take control and show each and every person exactly why they should be paying attention to what you're showing. Which would you choose? Which is better, right? Old way or new way? Which do you choose? Type it in your question box. New way in all caps. Great. New, says Charlie. Yeah, of course, right? So it takes a lot of work, and it requires us to break away from the way we've been maybe trained, or maybe the way we see everybody else do product demos. I'm sure a lot of us on this call today also are on the receiving end of product demos. And we call somebody up, we want to check out a CRM, we want to check out a web meeting software, we want to check out some kind of sales tool. And then the rep calls us and go, let me set up a demo. And then they go through the demo and they bang away, and they've never asked you a question. They don't even understand your company, right? So we think like, oh, well, maybe that's just the way you do product demos. So it's hard, right? And that's why I asked that question. Do you want to do it the old way, the way that people are doing it now, or do you want to do it the way that allows you to tailor and teach and take control, right? Cool, great. So that's step number 1, tailoring to teach. This is how you can run your product demos without looking like a startup. Cool. Man, we're zooming along here. So number two, are you guys ready for number 2? Theme number 2, I'm going to take a quick sip of coffee here. Theme number 2 is how to go from dancing to dominate. From dancing to dominate. Here we go, number 2. You ever been to an arcade and they have these dance machines? I grew up in New Jersey, and at the boardwalk in New Jersey, they have all these arcade games. And you would sit there, you could pump quarters in, and there's this dance machine game, right? And the thing about the dance machine game is that you put in your quarters, and it starts off pretty slowly, right? And all's going well. It's like, okay, left foot, left, right, left, right. Then the music starts to speed up, and it goes a little faster. And it goes a little faster. And it's going a little faster. And by the end, you're like completely spazzed. You're dripping with sweat. You probably even tripped and fell a couple times, right? Everybody around you is laughing at you. And you wish, like, man, I could have done better. Let me get another quarter, right? Or worse, you're just so glad that it's over that all you want to do is get an ice cream cone and just forget about the whole experience, right? This is the way it feels like a lot of times when we walk into this product demo. It's this machine that's telling us to dance. There's a really, really smart guy that I know. His name is Chris Duggan. Chris was the early sales VP at WebEx, and then went on to start two different companies. And he refers to this as the customer shows up with the boombox, they hit play, and they turn to you and go, dance, mother. I won't say it. But he said that's what it feels like if you do product demos the wrong way. It's that the customer is saying, dance, dance. And you're just sitting there like, man, like this is exhausting. It's not fun. And at the end of the day, you're probably dripping with sweat and it's completely failed, right? So it can be really, really frustrating when you know you've done all the right preparation going into that sales demo, right? You know that you have the prescription for the problem that the customer has, right? And you walk into the room, you can just feel the skepticism. It's just so thick you can cut it with a knife, right? You're like, man, like what did I do wrong? I thought that they wanted to solve this problem. I thought there was a reason that I was coming in here. They're actually interested in figuring out how I can help them solve this issue that they have. But yet you walk into the room and all you feel is this negativity, and you feel this skepticism. And a lot of times it feels like, man, I just want to get this demo over with so I can get this deal, out of my pipeline, or it just feels like a dead end. And it shouldn't feel that way, right? Because what we really want is when we get into that room, we want to deliver expertise. We want to walk in there because we are the ones, especially as startups, that are approaching whatever customer problem that we're tackling. We're coming at it a completely new way. If somebody else had solved the problem before, we wouldn't need to exist as companies in the first place. And so in a lot of ways, we are the expert in the room, and we want our customers to understand that. We want to be able to walk into that room and speak with authority. And we want our customers to feel like, man, like this guy's got the force, right? You want to be able to feel like you can walk in and dominate that room, not in an egotistical sort of way, not in a way that makes people feel like, I'm going to domineer over you and you're going to listen to everything I have to say, whether you like it or not. But it's this confidence that you have, that you're the expert and you have the authority, and it's confidence that the customer has in you, that you're going to be going about this the right way. And what you really want is this product demo to be your secret weapon. You want that meeting to be the place, the catalyst, that launch pad that we talked about, to go from, okay, this looks kind of interesting, to, whoa, let's get serious, right? That's the whole point of doing the product demo the right way. Because if that product demo that you're doing is the first time you're actually collecting all the key influencers and decision makers in the room for the first time, then it has to be the catalyst, because you're not going to get that chance again, right? So this brings us to number 2, which is stop dancing, start dominating. And I've got a couple key principles here that I want to share with you, just like with number 1, that I think you can put to work right away on how you can get away from Yosemite Sam firing bullets at you, making you dance, or putting quarters into the machine, and start dominating the room with authority, with confidence, with expertise, okay? So the first thing that I tell people is, like, look, just slow down, right? There's this tendency is we got to rush into the room, set up the projector, get the laptop open, and start showing the product right away. And yes, we're going to show the product. Yes, we're going to get to all that stuff. But let's just take a moment and slow down, survey the room, and make sure we understand, secondly, who's in the room. So the second principle that I tell people is, when you walk in that room, whether it's a physical room in a conference room or it's on a webinar, one of the first things I do is I take a piece of paper. And sometimes people walk in the room and they actually hand you your business cards. People still do that. It's kind of a traditional thing to do. So what I do is I take their business cards, and I have a blank sheet of paper in my notebook, and I put it right in front of me where I'm sitting. And I either put their business card exactly where that person is sitting around the conference table, or if they don't have a business card, I just ask them, hey, real quick, I know you just introduced yourself to me. I'm really horrible with names. Can you just remind me again, what is your name, and what's your role here at XYZ company? And you just write it down. You build a seating chart, right? And then from there, and this is part of the slowing down and taking control, the third part is to start creating interaction. You're almost demanding interaction. You're almost expecting interaction. And the way that you do that is, now that you've got your seating chart, now that you've done all your preparatory work going in, you know who the 4 people are. Hopefully, you know what the 3 questions are in the 1 output. But if you don't get to everybody, just because schedules didn't mix or they didn't get back to you, that's okay. What we're going to do, again, before we turn on the projector, before we open up our laptops, is say, thanks everybody for coming. Just to make sure I've got everybody who is here. What I want to do is just go quick around the room. Everybody take 30 seconds or less. I just want to confirm who you are, and I want to confirm what questions that I learned that you had coming into the room, and what the 1 outcome was that you wanted to get from our time together. Now, some of us, we've had a chance to catch up for about 15 minutes earlier this week. There's a couple of you I know we weren't able to connect. So let's just go around the room real quick and just set the stage so that I can make sure that I understand exactly what you guys want to get out of this time together. So let's start with you over here, John. And I like to start with my product champion or my point of contact, because I know that person's going to be friendly, and it kind of gets the momentum going. So what that does, it does slow things down. It helps you to confirm all the information that you have collected going into that demo, and how you're going to be tailoring it. And then for the people that you weren't able to get in touch with, what that allows you to do is get new information that you weren't able to get before. So even though you've got your demo set up and you've already tailored it based on the information you had, you can always make those minor adjustments, right? So that later on in the product demo, you can say, oh, yeah, actually this one place in our product, and then look down at your seating chart and go, yeah, so Sally, I seem to remember earlier when we first sat down, you said that it was really important for us, for a product like ours to have really easy, quick integration with the existing platforms that you have here at your company. Is that right? Yeah, it is. Great. So let me just show you this one thing real quick, just to help you understand very quickly how open and how easy and how flexible our platform is, and how we could probably connect with pretty much any other platform that you have here. Boom. Right. So now it allows you to even tailor on the fly when you do this. So by slowing down, doing your seating chart, you're also commanding the room. Like, remember when you were in second grade, you walked into the room, first day of class, what did the teacher do? Everybody, find your seats. Let's take attendance. We'll start over here. And then they went through the attendance sheet, right? That's the person commanding the room. And it wasn't in a domineering way. It was just, it was like, hey, I'm the boss of the room, right? So creating this interaction also then signals to people like, hey, this is not grab your popcorn, bring your cell phone, and waste an hour checking email while I'm up here talking. This is supposed to be a conversation, because supposedly you've got a pretty big problem here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have asked me to come in, and you wouldn't have spent an hour of your day learning from me. So let's make sure we get the most out of this time. This is what creating interaction forces people to think about in their minds, right? Does that make sense? So the other nice thing about this is that it proves that you've listened. So as you're going around the room, you're doing the seating chart, you're slowing things down, you're showing the people like, hey, we had this 15-minute conversation 2 days ago. I listened to you. I understand what your questions are. I understand what your outcome is. And the very last thing that I want you to do before you crack open your laptop and start showing your product is the trial close. The trial close. And the trial close is really easy. It says, okay, everybody, thanks so much for sharing all of the questions that you had and the outcomes we want to get. So we're going to get to the product in just a minute. And I'm really, really excited about this, because I know that we're going to be able to answer all these questions and you're going to be able to achieve the outcomes that you want. I'm going to be able to show you how our product is going to solve this critical business issue that you have. And so before we get started, just real quick, after I show you how our product works, how we solve XYZ problem here at your company, our next steps today coming out of this meeting would be to plan a pilot project or a proof of concept of some kind, so that you can see the solution in your own environment. Would everybody be okay with that? Right? Cool. So now again, you're already getting permission to get into the next step. And because you've built the trust and you've built confidence and you've shown that you've been able to listen so far, people are going to agree with you. They're like, okay, this guy, this woman is on point. Like, this is not some fly-by-night startup. This is a person who understands our problem, understands the severity of our problem, understands how to command the meeting and show us the answers. Like, yeah, if what you show us is really clear about how we're going to solve XYZ problem, then yeah, of course a pilot would make sense, or a proof of concept would make sense, or a meeting with our risk and advisory team would make sense, whatever that is, right? Does that make sense? You guys still with me? I know I went on for a little while there. Give me a quick gold. Nick says gold. Cool. Yeah, so awesome. So this is something that I've done. This is something I learned how to do over the last couple of years, this idea of doing the seating chart. And I don't know if it's just something that I did because I have taught a bunch of university classes and I have the seating chart and I just need to know who's in the room, or it's just something that kind of grew up organically. That alone, what I found, allows you to go from, hey, bow, 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 dance, to, okay, this guy's leading the meeting and he's going to help us show how this solution is going to work. So cool. So again, we just talked about dominating the room for the moment that the meeting starts, and I showed how it's worked for me. Again, I want to flip it back to you. Okay. So if you had a really clear framework to dominate your sales demos, if you knew exactly how to deliver on this framework, what kind of impact would that have for you? Mark says he used a seating chart idea. Great. And then he melds people's roles into the demo and shows how the product solves their specific problems. That's awesome. Good job, Mark. Absolutely. So think about this. If you had this clear framework, if there was a way, if you knew that you could be doing this, what kind of impact would that have for you? Like if you think about the times you walked into the demo and it felt like dance, 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 or maybe it was just yesterday that you were in a product demo and it wasn't working out, right? I mean, think about how many times have you had that perfect customer in your mind. You knew, like, man, I know this person, this company would definitely benefit from my solution. And then you walk out of the demo and you're sweating and you're tired and you wish you had another quarter, right? Yeah. So Santiago, he says, man, I love this, Santiago. It would help confirm next steps before you run out of time in the demo. Exactly. So by sliding that trial close in there and doing it because you've earned the right to do that because you've done your homework, you've built the confidence, you're showing the capabilities. Now, if the demo goes long or if people need to leave, people have already agreed tacitly to say, yeah, okay, yeah, if this looks like it's going to solve our problem, sure, let's do a pilot of some kind. Let's do a proof of concept of some kind. A lot of people saying they love the trial close. Yeah, for sure. Slowing down helps me to cede control. Yeah, awesome, great. So same thing, right? I've got a question for you, right? We got the old way, which is show up and dance, or we got the new way. Do you take the blue pill or do you take the red pill, right? Which one is better? Which one is better? I'll tell you, man, like I've been doing this a long time in sales and I still get nervous when I do it. It feels weird. I know that you're on this webinar, you're learning from me, and I'm working with startups just like you, and I'm telling you all these things that you should do, and these are the things I do. But I'll tell you, man, each and every time I walk into a room, I get a little nervous, man. I get those butterflies. I'm like, is this going to backfire? Right? Are they gonna feel like I'm just some kind of like sales schmuck that's trying to domineer the room? And it makes me feel like, man, is this the right thing? Because nobody else does these things. When I do them, though, every single time afterwards, I have my product champion come up to me or that senior executive and go, man, Scott, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Looking forward to getting a pilot up and running with you. So even if it feels a little bit unnatural, that's the hard part. That's why people don't do it, because it does go against the grain, right? So that's your fork in the road, right? You can take the red pill, the blue pill. So next time, build out that framework, and you've got an opportunity to really take control and go from dance to dominate. All right, so we got a few minutes left. We're going to run through number 3 pretty darn quickly. So here's number 3. You guys ready? So number 3 goes from, and I think number 1 and number 2 really help to feed us all of the right frameworks that get us to get number 3 to go the right way, right? So number 3, if you remember, number 3 is taking your product demos from, hey, this looks pretty cool, we'll circle up and get back to you in a couple weeks, to, oh, wow, thank you for coming in. What exactly do you need from us, right? That's what you want. So this is where in those product demos, it can be frustrating if you start strong. Again, you're doing the right things, you're doing the legwork, you're doing the research, you've taken your attendance chart, you've done your seating chart, you start strong, but now the questions start, pow, and it feels like you're on trial. You get 3 minutes into the demo, and then there's always that one person that starts firing questions. You don't even know, like, why is this person, like, why are they so, it almost feels like they're being mean to you. It feels like you're on trial. And then worse, you get into the situation, you're 5 minutes into the demo, and somehow, some way, your competitors come up. Like, how did we start talking about competitors 5 minutes into this product demo? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I thought we were going to be talking about our product and your problem, right? So now it becomes a tit for tat kind of feature thing. Somebody asks a question, do you have this feature? Yes, we have this feature. Okay, how does it work? Because your competitor has this. How many data files can you hold, or how many users can you have? How much is it? It's just like, oh my gosh, everybody, what happened? I just completely lost control of this product demo, right? And what you're really worried about is, like, man, I could do the first 2 steps right. I could tailor to teach, right? I could start dominating instead of dancing. But then the demo starts and I could totally blow it, right? And so what we really want is clarity and control throughout the whole meeting, throughout the whole demo, not just the first 5 minutes, not the first 15 minutes. We want to have clarity and control throughout the entire meeting. And what we also want, we want to start spinning the web. We want to start spinning I call it the communication web. So I know some of you were with me a couple of weeks ago at a webinar I was doing, and I talked about the communication web. The communication web is I want to get to a point where it's just not me talking to one other point of contact or just a couple of people at that company. I want to get my product manager involved. I want to get my CEO involved. I want to get my co-founder involved. I want to get my CTO talking to their director of IT. I want to get my product manager talking to their risk and security people on how we built the platform and how it's going to meet their risk and security needs, right? Because what we also really want is we want to be able to, walking out of this meeting, out of this demo, we want to get our hands dirty in a good way. We want to go from, okay, let's see us what you got, to, okay, let's dive in. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's do a pilot. Let's do a proof of concept. Let's start talking to other parts of the company that need to approve you as a potential partner, right? This would lead us to what we want coming out of that meeting is a path to the promised land, a path to the new customer, right? And so number 3, this idea of going from we'll circle up to what do you need from us? The way I think about this, just to keep it really, really simple, is I think of this as open loops. Open loops. And what I mean by open loops is it's a good thing to leave yourself questions to follow up with. And I'm going to give you some strategies on how you can specifically do this. Because those open loops are what give you permission to continue on into the sales process. Have you ever been in a demo where you've answered every single question and you know you nailed every single question? You answered it perfectly. And the person goes, oh, great. Yeah, thanks. They nod their head. And then at the end of the product demo, you're like, you still get the, hey, this looks really cool. We'll get back to you. Or we'll circle up and we'll let you know. Like, I don't understand. I just answered every single question, every single objection. Yet you're telling me you want to circle up and get back to me? Why isn't this a good fit? Right? So the idea of open loops is what gets us from we'll circle up to what do you need from us? So here's a couple quick strategies. The first is one that if you're in that group and you start getting questions early on, especially around technical questions about your product, your platform, how it's built, all those other things, then the key thing to do is to tell people, say, look, these are really important questions. And I totally understand why you're asking questions about the technology and the platform and our security and our data management and all these other things. The purpose of this meeting today, now we have about 45 minutes left. The purpose of this meeting today is to focus on what I call the business case for the problem and our solution. So what we're focusing on here is just showing you our capabilities based on your business problem. And then if there's a match there, if you feel from a business standpoint that our product is going to solve your problem, then we can get into all the other technical stuff. Because if we get into all the other technical stuff, we could sit here for hours answering technical questions that you probably have, that I know that you have. But the thing is, none of that stuff matters if the people in this room don't feel like we can actually solve the problem in the first place, if the product doesn't do what it needs to do. So in that time that we have together, let's focus on the business case. And then as we leave the room, if we have time, we'll answer some of those technical questions. And even better, what I want to do is have my CTO get in touch with you, since you're the director of IT. And you, risk manager, I've got my product manager that I can have get in touch with you, and we can have another meeting next week to answer all the risk questions that you have. So the first principle is just focus that product demo on the business case. The second way to do this is, and I learned this from Peter Cohen. So Peter Cohen has a workshop and a teaching methodology he calls Great Demo. And he calls it the parking lot. We've heard this term before, right? You've been in a big meeting and somebody asks a question and the facilitator of the meeting goes, that's a great question. We're going to put that into the parking lot. And then go over to some kind of whiteboard or some kind of flip chart and they write down your comment or your question. You're like, so later on, if we have time, we will get to the parking lot. Well, there's a reason we do that, right? So you want to be careful not to just call it the parking lot. But what we're essentially doing by focusing the business case is creating this parking lot of questions that we then have a reason to go back and spin that communication web with people, right? That's what we want to do. Ultimately, is stepping out of this meeting, we said that one of the things we wanted to do with the trial close was get permission to go forward with a pilot or a proof of concept of some kind. And in order for us to do that, we all know we're going to get more people involved for sure, right? We're going to have to get the IT person involved. We're going to have to get the risk and compliance people involved. We're going to have to get permission to get approval from the users to use an upgraded version of the browser that they need, right? So by creating the focus around the business demo and then giving you these open loops to spread the communication web, what that allows you to do is actually allows you to guide guide your room full of people to the objections you know they're going to have, right? You know that they're going to have all of these questions around APIs and reliability and platform and all those things. So by focusing on the business case and then spreading the communication web, what you're actually doing is telling them and acknowledging to them, like, look, in no way, shape, or form am I assuming that I'm going to do this 15, 20, 30-minute product demo and have another 20-minute conversation and you guys are going to buy this. I get that. But what we said we were going to do is guide at the end of this call to look at how we would get a pilot up and running or how we get a proof of concept up and running. And in order to do that, we're going to have conversations with 2 or 3 or 4 other departments here at your company. So what you're doing is, instead of shying away from the objections and hoping that they don't ask them or hoping that they're not a big deal, you're actually guiding people into those objections, and you're forcing them to take the action they would need to take in order to overcome those questions that they have, those objections that they have. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Let me hear from you real quick. Does that make sense so far? Yes, I'm getting a yes, getting a thumbs up. Awesome stuff. Cool. So that's the third piece here. That's how you get from, hey, we'll circle up and get back to you, to what do you need from us? Creating these open loops, focusing on the business case, making sure that the demo is focused on the business problem at hand, and then giving yourself permission to then do these follow-ups so that you can have the pilot up and running, that you can do the proof of concept, that you can talk to procurement. So I remember specifically, I had this exact kind of situation. So I was selling software to Wells Fargo, and I remember coming out of the meeting, and we said, well, look, with this, if we were to do a proof of concept with you guys, there's going to be 4 tracks under which we're going to have to explore together. These 4 tracks are kind of like checkboxes. So 1, the business team, right? Yes, does this solve the business problem at hand? 2 is the compliance team. So again, in mortgages, you probably heard all of the risk and the regulations and all the compliance stuff around that. So like we'd say, look, everybody here knows about Tailor, RESPA, and all these other regulations going live in October. So we want to have a conversation with the compliance team to make sure we have their blessing. The third area is risk and info security. Like, we know that you're going to want to vet our platform for data security, that we make sure we have a SOC 1 audit done, that you want to come do a site visit, whatever it takes in order for your risk and info security people to feel confident in what we're doing. And then fourthly, we're going to have a conversation with your legal and procurement people. Like, what are their guidelines to get an MSA done, a master services agreement? What are the checklists that they're going to need to get from us in order to get us approved as a vendor? So going into those product demos, we're focusing on the business case, and then coming out of that in order to get the pilot up and running, in order to get the proof of concept up and running. That's the communication web that we were spinning. Does that make sense for everyone? Give me a thumbs up. So Sammy, you asking for a quick recap? Yes, we're going to do that in just a second. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Yes, emphatically, says Donna. Double pluses from Santiago. Awesome. Good stuff. Good, good, good. Okay, so last time I'm going to ask you to draw a line in the sand. Okay, so if you had a clear strategy that would allow you to lead your prospects willingly to a later stage in the sales process, if you had a way to take your product demos as just a stepping stone between early stage to serious stage, what would that do for your business? What would that do for your ability to close these deals? Right? If you think about the times you walked out of a demo and felt like you were on the defensive the moment that you turned on the projector, what do you feel like it's cost you? Yeah, you definitely close skyrocket. Oh, Bayu, I love that. Skyrocket. Yeah, for sure. Right? And this is everything that we're talking about here. Remember, let's bring it all the way back to the promise of the content here. Like, we want to run our product demos without looking like a startup. And so if we recap and talk about those 3 things real quick. First, it's tailor to teach, right? Doing all the reconnaissance work, taking control of the demo, understanding what was in your box real quick. What was the quick strategy? What was the question you're going to ask for all the attendees? Somebody real quick write it in there. It was a bunch of numbers. What were those? What were those numbers? Yes, the 3+1. Yeah, so that's the first thing. Going around to the people who are going to be in that room and say, hey, I just need to know the 3+1 for everybody that's in that room. What are the 3 questions that they probably have? What's the 1 outcome they want from this meeting? So that I can tailor our product demo to meet everybody's expectations, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, we want to go from dancing to dominating. And the way that we go from dancing to dominating is we slow down, we take attendance, We confirm the information we've been able to get from our 3+1 question with the people that are there that shared that with us. The people that are new that we didn't get a chance to talk to, we're asking them real quick, rapid fire. Sam, sorry, we didn't get a chance to catch up before the meeting. One of the things I like to know from everybody is a 3+1. 3 is, what are your big 3 questions, 2 or 3 questions that you'd like to have answered today, and what's your one big outcome that you want to get out of our next 45, 50 minutes together. Cool, got it, and go around the room, right? So what that does is allow you to tailor and allows you to dominate the room. And then the third piece that we're talking about here as a recap is getting from, hey, we'll circle up, to what do you need from us? And the way we do that is by allowing these open loops to exist. We focus everybody on the business side of the demo. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for coming together. The purpose of our time today is to focus on the business problem and show you how our product works, show you how we can solve that problem for you. If and only if we can check the box there, then we'll get into all the technical stuff that we can spend hours and days talking about. Is everybody cool with that? Right? So those are the 3 ways that you can run your product demos without looking like a startup. Does that make sense? Cool. So now what? I'm not sure exactly why you showed up today. Everybody's got a different reason. I know I emailed some of you, had a chance to interact with you a little bit. Maybe you showed up today because your deals are stalling. As soon as you get to the demo, everything's going great. Then you get to the demo and deals stall out. Or maybe the demo is just a constant source of heartburn for you. Like, you can't figure out flow. You can't figure out how to command the room. Maybe you just know that whatever it is that you're selling, you should be selling more of it. You know your product rocks. You know your product is the kind of product that can solve the problem that you're out to solve, and it's just not happening. And now that you know how you can tailor to teach, and how we can go from dancing to dominating, and how we can go from, hey, we'll circle up, to what do you need from us, that brings us to a question, right? Which is, how do I get those results in my business? How do I close more deals? How do I run these product demos the right way? How do I incorporate this as a part of my larger strategy in my sales process? And there's really 2 ways to do it. You can do it slow. I mean, there's lots of awesome content out there to help you do it yourself. You can find your way through trial and error, or you can knock this out really fast. And so one of the things I like to offer to people who come to this webinar is a solution that I call the strategy call, the sales strategy call. Okay. So the sales strategy call is really, really simple. It's, if you've had the right product to solve your customer problems, but you can't get them to pull the trigger, or you've been doing everything you think you're supposed to be doing, your deals are stalling, or you're getting the right people in the room, but nobody's committing to the next step, and you're worried about blowing your leads. And what you really want is to talk to your customers about their problems. You want to know that they're listening to you as a voice of authority. You want to be the expert that you know that you are, and you want to own the room, right? And you want to get every prospect to go from, hey, this sounds interesting, to, oh, man, what happens next? If you want more help, then this is why I'm offering an opportunity to book the sales strategy call with me. So it's really, really simple. I'm going to put a link into the question box right now. And here it comes. I just posted it there, and I'm going to show it on my screen. It's really, really simple. The sales strategy call is designed to do 3 things. First, it is designed to help you find the single biggest challenge that's getting in your way, slowing you down, and stopping you from building the business that you imagine. Second thing is it will identify the top 3 gaps or risks that you might have in your sales process. And third, you're going to leave with a plan of action that you can use right now to fill those gaps. Right? So it's really simple. That sales strategy call will do 3 things. It's totally free, by the way. I know sometimes people ask, like, hey, do I have to pay extra for this? No, I don't sell stuff on webinars. This sales strategy call is a reward for you for spending this time with me, for being willing to invest your time and your energy to learn about how you can improve your sales process. And so if you book that sales strategy call, you'll get 3 things from me. You'll be able to find the biggest single challenge that's getting in your way, slowing you down and stopping you from what's keeping you from building the business you imagine. We're going to identify 3 specific gaps and risks in your sales process, and then you're going to leave with a plan of action that you can use right now. So I spend most of my time working with clients. I mean, there's a couple people on the call that are clients of mine right now, and they will tell you that I spend a ton of time working with them. So I don't always have a ton of time to do this, but I do have a few spots that I've blocked out for next week. So grab a spot that works with your schedule. Bring your co-founder, your teammate, your manager, your product person, your marketing person, whoever else is helping you out with sales, and book that time. And let's hop on the phone for 20 minutes and figure out that biggest obstacle. Let's figure out what the biggest sales challenge is that you have in your sales process. If the time you have is blocked, I'm really sorry. I only have a few time blocks available. I'm doing some traveling. As I said, I'm doing a bunch of client work. But I've just posted that link, and you can see it here on your screen. So click on the link, pick a day that you know works for you and your co-founder, or even if it's just you by yourself. Choose a time to see that you see is available, book a call, and then pat yourself on the back and say, hey, man, nice job. Let's do this. So it's that simple. It's that easy. I really appreciate you guys. Charlie says he's got to run. Absolutely. Thanks to Sammy. I know this is a big time investment. I know we ran a few minutes over. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in booking that time, like I said, you want to go ahead and do that right away because the time slots do fill up. If I don't fill those slots by the end of the day today, then I'm going to start allowing other people that I work with to use that time. So that's it. That's my, hopefully I fulfilled on the promise that I had to you coming into this webinar, which is focusing you on how to turn your product demos into a stepping stone to a more serious opportunity. And most importantly, how do you run your product demos without looking like a startup? So thank you very much, everybody, for checking out the time. I appreciate that very, very much. And that's it. That's all I got. So this is Scott Sambucci. If you have any other questions, hit me up on LinkedIn. You can send me an email. And until then, I'm signing off.